Attendance at the happiest, most magical place on earth, Walt Disney World Resort, is crashing, but investors are not yet slashing their hopes for the House of Mouse. Why? Well, because it looks like for now, they might be unaware of what's really going on. It's only too bad that we're here to bring everybody on board to what could be an absolutely disastrous December 2024. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds one video at a time, simply by telling the truth and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. Folks, if you enjoy this kind of content, consider visiting our Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/WDW Pro, where you can go to get even more spicy info about the Holly Weirds and what they're up to lately. Today we're talking Disney World. Click that like button. And like the Skyliner or the monorail, we'll take you there right now. Here's what we're talking about right now. Take a look at this. It's out of Thrill Data. And if you thought the attendance for Disney movies was down, you ain't seen nothing yet, because we got to talk about Walt Disney World Resort. Walt Disney World Resort, by the way, is Disney's biggest revenue driver. It is their biggest source of profit they have, and nothing else comes close. About 1/3 historically of all the Walt Disney Company's profit comes from Walt Disney World Resort, and they are going to have to resort to something to save it, because I want to show you this. We're on thrillData.com, and it says Walt Disney World monthly average wait time. Now, we tend to correlate wait times with crowd levels, and the reason we do that is because the more people there, the longer the lines. It's that simple. And so we can take a look at this historical data going all the way back to 2019 to see how long people were waiting, and thus how many people probably were there. And you might notice something. In 2022, which is post-pandemic, we'll say, it's when they took down the plexiglass and they stopped making you separate 6 feet out, right? People started coming back. Look at that grayish line. You see it sloping down. It looks like waves of the ocean as the tide is going out. Well, I'm going to show you something really, really neat right now. If we go back to the highest point in 2022, back when Disney World stuff started looking like it should. December is the highest wait time, thus the highest crowded or most crowded month of 2022, we believe. Average wait time, 46 minutes. Cool, right? All right, let's go forward. 2023, highest wait time month of the year, thus we believe it's the most crowded month of the year. December 2023. Average wait time, 42 minutes. I think everybody sees where we're going right now. Take a look at this. Again, Disney World is Disney's most important asset, and it is crashing, and no one is talking about it. Investors should be thrashing the people causing this. Guess what, folks? We are now in the last essentially, we're down to the last week left to go, and we are not seeing December rise. Now, by the end of the year, perhaps it will go up there, but it's not going to go up there anywhere near. Remember, 2022, huge. Look at it. Biggest, most crowded month of the year. Go to 2023, same thing. You go here to 2024. This is a catastrophic dive, and Epic Universe is going to open next year. They've got about 5 months until Epic Universe opens. This drop is precipitous, and it is cataclysmic for the company. They can't have this happen to their asset that generates 1/3 of their profits and revenues. Vash, I bet you had not even seen yet these crowd levels being this bad. I mean, folks, to give you some idea, look at the other bars. Now look at December of this year that we're currently in. It is lower than almost any other month except for October and September of 2024. Vash, your thoughts?
Oh, I'm not necessarily shocked by this result. I can just tell you right now, I spent my time recently in Disneyland on the other coast, and even though it was well attended, and you can see this right here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for just a second right here to give you a full picture of what's going on. You can see this is the annual pass holder calendar right now. It is pretty much blacked out, well, largely because, well, they're blacked out for the rest of December right there. But even the days that were available were not. You can see this is the ticket reservation calendar. It is very, very open for the week and a half that annual pass holders are at all levels are blocked out, and they're having major sales right now because people are not really, even if they are going, they're not really buying food. They're not really buying retail. They're not really shopping in the stores and so forth. So they're having to do all these sales, as you can see right here, to try to move merch, try to improve on their per caps, because people, while they are at the parks at Disneyland, they're not necessarily spending money while they're there. Even though Walt Disney World makes so much more money, the fact that attendance is down, this is why they're attempting to try to increase costs at this time period in order to raise their per caps up as well. So Disney is having problems of a different kind on both fronts, but at the end of the day, it's still about spending money at these parks, and people simply aren't doing it because they're either not there, or if they are there, they're just not, reaching into their wallets.
This is out of Disney Tourist Blog. Tom Bricker's the author. I just want to show this real quick, Vash. In terms of crowds thus far this holiday season, Walt Disney World as a whole hasn't been too busy on a monthly, weekly, or daily basis. Jersey Week and Veterans Day saw a slight spike to moderate territory, with crowds plummeting the week after to lows rivaling their August and September lows. That little less than a week before Thanksgiving week is when to target in 2025. So essentially, they're talking about 2025 will be better than this year, because that's what we're down to. And by the way, we love Disney Tourist Blog. But again, and Mike, just to intro you, we're looking at this chart is showing the declining attendance, we believe, at Walt Disney World. And December was supposed to be the big pickup that was going to help. This next earnings report could be a bloodbath for Iger, given the box office issues and given Walt Disney World. But people are paying attention to Disney World.
Fun fact that I don't think you've covered yet. I was trying to listen to you while I was finishing Valiant Show. The fiscal year for Disney runs, what quarter is the first quarter?
December.
October 1st through
October 1st.
Yep, you're right.
31st is the first quarter of the fiscal year.
Right.
Now, does anyone know, fun fact number 2, does anyone know why that's the case?
Mike, share, please.
Because historically speaking, going back to way back to like Disneyland in California, the first quarter, that October, November, December, leading up to Christmas break, from between Thanksgiving and Christmas, although Disneyland has always had really big summers, the whole idea is that they kick off their first quarter with a great quarter. So first quarter is typically, statistically, if you go back longitudinally back 5-6 decades, it's always been a really strong quarter for Disney.
And that's why
a strong quarter. It also, as they've gotten more into things like sports, television, back when we had like linear cable and we would have the fall shows would come out, advertising revenue. You got the NBA, which was historically big, not so much so lately, but movie releases for this October 1 to December 31st is supposed to be financially great from attendance through everything else.
That's why Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom, for example, opens October 1st, 1971, I'm guessing. Makes sense.
So here's the thing, Mike. Walt Disney World Resort, it represents something like 1/3 of all of Disney's profits. Disney's a big company. The Walt Disney World Resort, people forget just how huge it is. I mean, it dwarfs everything to do with Star Wars. It even dwarfs everything to do with Marvel. And investors, I don't believe, Mike, that they're seeing, for example, this chart. I don't think that they're looking at this isn't being made publicly or public enough. They need to be seeing this, that, hey, there's historically a huge pop in December, but we've had 3 years now of decline, and there's no pop at the end of this year compared to what we've seen in the past. And we have a monumental challenger coming our way from Epic Universe. This to me feels like a pressure cooker at this point, where at some point the truth is going to pop the lid.
So what is the thing that's going to actually, I know we have our speculatives, but what's going to be the thing that would actually turn it around, other than the investors actually paying attention to what's going on instead of just huffing the farts?
That's a great question for Mike. Mike, do you have any idea what's going perhaps without giving financial advice, because we don't do that, what might shake the investors in the near term when it comes to this sort of thing that we've been talking about?
Or even just the CEOs and, well, obviously the CEO and the rest of the board and everything in general.
Continued movie box office, a pattern of box office movie failures combined with low attendance over the course of 2 or 3 years. Because you got to remember that, Bob Iger is great about coming up with excuses for things. I mean, what was that excuse you guys covered? The attendance was down because people were, even though they were in Paris, attendance was down in Paris because of the Olympics. What?
Darn Olympics.
Also, the temperature was hot in summer.
Right. No one wanted
Yes.
to go to Disney World this summer, guys, because it was hot in Orlando.
So hot. So hot. Oh man. But that's
It was such a radical departure from most of the year in Orlando, right?
Marvin, you
Every
are at
other
the
year.
parks. Marvin, you're at the park all the time.
Yep.
What's your assessment of this holiday season? Is it looking very crowded? A lot of times people go, and because they don't go often, they don't know what crowded versus not crowded looks like. Like I remember.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
Mhm. Well, so last week I was there a couple times, and it was very, very crowded. And my wife said to me, "Oh, well, you know what? I guess they're turning it around for the holiday season." I said, "No, wait a minute, because earlier in the month was not very crowded at all. Last week it was." And I said, "This is the last week before annual passes are blocked out for the rest of the year." I said, "Next week will be the decider, because I think this is the week that all the locals are going to go, because they're like, we got to get in all our Christmas stuff beforehand." And then this week came, and it was just a sharp decline. So you're seeing the lack of people. The people that are coming are not the people that they want. They don't want the locals. They don't want the annual pass holders. They want the people that are coming in from outside, that are going to be completely immersed in the Disney bubble, in that atmosphere, and stay in their resorts, use their transportation, eat their food, and go to their theme parks. And that's what's not showing up this year. And that should be, I mean, we saw it on the 4th of July, bro. We covered it on that park place where the 4th of July was a ghost town. And I said the holiday season is what's going to really determine whether or not this is going to be a disaster, in the coming year. And oh boy, is it ever going to be a disaster.
And Vash, your thoughts on Disneyland? Are you seeing the same sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm seeing very much the same sort of thing. Annual pass holders were going before they were actually blocked out in big numbers in order to take advantage of the holidays festivities before they were finally blocked out. But Marvin is right. Disney doesn't necessarily want annual pass holders to show up on either coast because, well, per day, when they're there, they simply don't spend as much as tourists do. This is why Disneyland has been pivoting towards a more tourist-driven economy for itself, and why Walt Disney World really doesn't focus much on annual pass holders, because they simply just don't spend as much per day as tourists often do, especially international guests. I do agree with Mike's assessment, though. This quarter right here, I think, is going to be a real bloodbath for them. I think they're going to take a big hit, which is profound, because if we look at the fiscal year 2024 Q4 results, those were the lowest operating income for the parks in over 2 years, I believe, is what was reflected in that report. So the fact that this could be even down at a time when it should be a boon for the parks, I think it really is troubling. I bring up this photo because these are the annual pass holders, the tourists who are actually coming, but not necessarily taking part in their festivities, in their festival that they have over there at DCA right now, not waiting for their food booths, etc. Even if you have images of people at the parks, even if you see people in line for their attractions, it doesn't mean they're necessarily spending money. They could be going there, taking advantage of the festivities, but not actually opening their wallets. That's the big thing to take away from all of this.
Very well said, and it's something Disney needs to get fixed as fast as they possibly can. The problem for Disney, of course, they're facing off with Epic Universe, and that is going to throw a major wrench in their plans. They seem still dedicated to destroying Rivers of America in Walt Disney World Resort. It's a terrible idea, but, well, it's an idea, and they haven't had many of those leading up to trying to defend them themselves from their foes over at Universal Studios. You know, it's always sad when one of these video ends, and yet it is the beginning of the wait for the next one to land. 4 times a day right here on the Pro Channel. And by the way, there's plenty more on our partner channels, That Part Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and go check out the original music we have on stations like Vacation Radio. We'd love to have you, love to entertain you. At least we'll do a better job than some of the current entertainment companies. Folks, like, share, subscribe, and you know what? Drop a comment right on down below. Share this out anywhere you go on social media. And until the next time, we have the honor, the pleasure of getting to spend time with you when you choose to invite us into your day to add the value that we hope to bring your way. We ask that you keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.